Welcome to Cosmic Greenlight. I know it's been a while since we've had an episode, but we've kind of been running in stealth mode for a while. There's a lot that we've been working on that's very exciting. We've had to keep it pretty quiet, just certain members in the team, but some of the things are coming to fruition. There are a few things we still need to keep to ourselves, but there's a lot going on. Isn't there, Mike? We've been pretty busy.
Yeah, this has been amazing how much things are rolling now that we need to be working on and we can be working on. There's so many doors opening. It's been a great time.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty exciting. It's like the last 4 or 5 years, it's like there's been some sort of block that's prevented all of these different projects from going through, but it's really given me time to really dive deep and develop them out. And I've spent a lot of time doing that. So, you've seen the synopsis of one of the fiction books that's going to come out, that's going to have manga cover and chapter art in black and white. We are going to continue our original graphic novel. It's going to be reproduced as a webcomic, and we're going to do the other parts of the series that everyone's been asking for in the webcomic format. And we have Rings of Enoch that is the synopsis is created, and we're ready for writers for it as well. Hopefully here in the next number of weeks or months, we'll have an opportunity to also really beef up what we're doing with Ascension Works TV. I think we're going to be able to do more original content. We're going to be able to advertise. I know Mike has been sort of how I've been with all the IP stuff I'm doing. He has all the stuff that he's been wanting to do, and he's kind of got it staged in his mind and planned out, but he hasn't had the resources and time to implement a lot of it. And a lot of that is about to go away, and we're going to be able to really put out a lot of really cool content, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I guess we could clarify for people when you talk about like the next episode of the comic and the Rings of Enoch, some of this content that we'll be putting out is more closely based on your story, and some of it is more just based on information that you know about that is going to fit in really well.
Yeah, the webcomic that is our original graphic novel, that was going to be like a 3-book series to start off with. It's now going to be fully done in a webcomic format, and it's going to be our experiences, me, my family, and all of that. So that's going to be the experiences. The 2 pro se novels, illustrated pro se novels, are going to be fiction, sci-fi fiction, and they're going to be written for people between the ages of like 18 to 28, maybe 32 years old. And that's in the same age group as the video games, which we have a lot going on with that as well. And is also the age group that we're trying to reach through some of these different animated and live action projects that we're working on.
That's great that we can get so much truth out to so many people. And I'm curious though, so the closest thing we're coming up on now is going to be the launch of the new documentary, right?
Yeah, and the documentary is I think, going to drive a lot of new people to Ascension Works TV. We're pretty excited about it. Now, I think we can finally talk about who we're working with. A lot of I signed with literary and television film agents, Corvacero Literary Agency. They do like films, TV shows as well, but mostly literary types of projects. They introduced me to Jason Wenlam, and He is the main owner and the head of Polyscope Productions out of Canada. I've been working with them for right at a year now, and um, they put together an amazing uh, documentary. They worked closely with Jeremy Pollock from, was it
Dreadnought.
Dreadnought. Is it Dreadnought Entertainment
Yep. Dreadnought.
Productions or?
It's just called Dreadnought. Yeah.
Okay. And they're also in Canada. And Dreadnought, this documentary is going to be the highest production value documentary, or up there, than any of the other paranormal genre. We did reenactments with the kids and Stacy, which was a lot of fun. And within those reenactments, they're going to use virtual VFX and create like shadow beings and different things that we experience, spaceships. And they're also using quite a bit of our graphic novel to both still images, and they're also animating some of the scenes from the graphic novel. And in the documentary, we talk about my family's experiences, what happened to us. They finally, for the first time, go on camera and tell their experiences, which was, very interesting to hear things from their perspective, talking on camera. And then we talk about how our television show on Gaia went viral. We cover the cyber stalking that occurred. We cover the incredible LARP phenomenon, that's kind of like fan fiction, but taken to the next level, that's gone on. Yeah, and I said the cyber stalking, the stalking, the lawsuits we touch on. We talk about my rise and fall with Gaia TV a little bit. We don't go super into detail into all of those things. That'll be in our television series Alien Mania, which is a whole nother story.
There really isn't that much time to cover. Although there's so much that's gone on.
I know.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I was really happy that you were interviewed as well. And it was interesting to hear kind of your perspective on a number of things.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be called Beyond Disclosure, and they're going to call this one the Corey Good Files.
So it definitely has evolved to a point where it's more like clearly a documentary about your story. I think at one point it was called, I don't know if we announced the name, that it was called
Family Paranormal.
Family Paranormal at one point. And before that, it was like UFOs Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because it was about ECETI initially more, right?
Well, no. It started off, we went to ECETI. We'll go back a little over a year ago when I started working with Corvacero Talent Agency. They decided to come to our last conference that we put on. And when they came to the conference, they had been talking to Polyscope Productions. They also represent James Dashner, the Maze Runner series. They represent him. Corvacero does, and Polyscope is doing a movie for him on the new part of his IP. And they told Polyscope that they were working with me. He happened to have watched Cosmic Disclosure in the past and seen some of my documentaries. So he decided to come to the event as well, and he brought some of his team with him. At the end of that event, he had a conversation with me and said that he wanted to shoot a documentary of me and my family and what we've gone through. I told him we already had Alien Mania partially outlined, and I was focused on that. But he said, no, I think I can do something really artistic, represent your family, what you've gone through, and everything very well. So I said, okay. And I'm also discussions with Polyscope, James Gilliland, a former executive from Disney, who's been a good friend of mine, and a couple of others that are going to do a East Eddy Ranch television series that's going to be really cool. And we all thought we were just going there to scout, for him to meet James Gilliland more. And we started noticing the cameras were on us more and more instead of just kind of shooting B-roll, and scouting. And the last day we kind of found out they were shooting a documentary on us, which our family and us, we were like kind of in vacation mode. We were not dressed well and all of that. So we were kind of shocked, but excited. And so there was a little confusion in the beginning, but then we found out that what they were going to do, and it's turned out to be a really amazing documentary that's going to set up a lot of the other projects, including East Eddy Ranch Portals, is what we're calling it right now.
So, do you think they got much of the UFO activity that you saw there at East Eddy? Was it less than usual?
It was less than usual when they were there. Now, I'll let you know, and it'll come out in the documentary. In the documentary, they're kind of like this, doesn't say really why, but there's this production company that's meeting me and my family, and they're kind of having discussions to themselves. What do you think? I don't know. This is kind of a crazy story, and I'm a pretty big skeptic. And one of the others is like, well, I'm going to try to just be open-minded. This is a crazy story. And so, they kind of approach it in that manner. They're not trying to prove anything. It was just kind of them coming in as a production company, witnessing everything, hearing all the stories about the cyber stalking, some of the crazy people that we've run into, and they were hooked. So so that first documentary, it's in post-production right now. We hope it'll be out in April, but it might be May. I will have information soon, unless we post it down below, but I don't think I'll have that information soon about how it'll be distributed. We're in discussions with some streaming companies and are excited, but we can't go too much into detail. With Polyscope, I also signed a shopping agreement for a live action television series based directly on my graphic novel called 20 and Back. And we're doing that in conjunction with the video game. Maybe we can pull up a clip of that. When we edit it and everything.
Yeah.
But the video game is going to be 20 and Back, Soul Liberation, soul as in solar system, but soul because there's also a soul connection to it all. And we have two other video games in development. Deep Underground Military Base, the Gonzalez story. And that's more of a 2D game. And then we have
Crystal Caverns.
Crystal Caverns, yeah. And that's going to involve kind of some of the Anshar kind of lore. And the Gonzalez story, it's going to tell his story. He was a World War II and Korean War hero, he was declared hero, and he was brought into work into some of the military deep underground bases after he had his clearances. He kept those from the military when he retired and started heading security for these deep underground military bases, and that's where he slowly learned a lot to where he became a part of the secret space program. And that video game is going to tell the story, but also be a lot of fun.
And this is somebody you interacted with a lot and who has a real name that we still don't disclose, I assume, because of family reasons, or he had a real family
He
and
did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
and now he's
Yeah.
not even around. He left.
Yeah. He's basically, mm, he's in the same body, has all of his memories and all of that, but his personality and everything has kind of changed since he hung out with the Mayans. And apparently he was one of them reincarnated or incarnated or something. And he acts more like them now.
So, but he has the more extensive story interacting with the different military groups, I assume.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
that's where we can get very creative exploring the depths of what's going on in the underground bases.
Yes. Very much so. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. Um, but yeah, the documentary was fun. What did you think about the questions you were asked?
Well, it felt like it was very genuine, very heartfelt, and very much people who are just beginning to beginning to learn about this information. And they didn't seem to have any strong bias in any direction. They were just interested and curious and learning and hearing the story. So I thought that was fairly well put together. But I mean, it didn't go very deep into any particular subject. It was kind of, but they couldn't possibly cover anything very deep, like I said, with so limited time. To do one documentary at least. It makes me wonder though if they can use some of that in follow-up documentaries or anything else. If this first one does well, they'll have a lot of material.
Yeah, we're going to use some of it in Alien Mania, the series, at least for the uh, sizzle reel that we're creating for the uh, network streamer, whatever we're working with right now. I can't go into. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of views because yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was just great content. The cameras they used were amazing. I couldn't believe that he said he usually when you have someone sitting in a chair and you have the mountain in the background, the mountain looks like this big, because of the apertures of, and the lenses. But the cameras they have are amazing, amazing lenses. And the mountain actually looks it looks the right size, behind me. And it's just, it's, it's beautiful. And I looking very forward to see the VFX, how they depict the ghosts, not ghosts, but the shadow beings. My son tells story of seeing orbs, um, and how they depict the orbs. That's going to be fun, flying around the room. And Stacy talks about when she had a download, she was seeing the cosmic web, and that's all she could see. And after she woke up from a nap, so they have a scene from her waking up from a nap in our bed, looking up at the ceiling, and they're going to have the cosmic web projected. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you feel like your kids were able to open up fairly well? Did they hold back much?
They opened up more the first trip, and it was because they weren't expecting it. The When they shot the second half here in Boulder, I noticed them a little bit more reserved.
Hmm. I wonder if this is a function of age too, as they're trying to process this. They don't know how to integrate it as well as maybe we have after so many years of thinking about it.
That becomes apparent with Connor because a lot of this stuff happened when he was really young. He remembers the shadow beings. He remembers the orbs. He remembers the ghosts that would come into our house, like actual people that were ghosts. Um, They talk a little bit about my kid's abilities, um, but with him, yeah, there's some of it was we hadn't really talked about it since he was a kid. There was an abduction experience where my family was taken, and the next morning Connor had blood on his pillow and sheets, and he had weird scratches on him, and his nose had on one side had this built up blood in it. And as soon as he woke up, he started running around the house talking about um, these tall men with six fingers and yellow hair taking him to an airplane outside of the house. And he talked about it for 2 weeks straight, just freaking out. My daughter remembers it. We remember it. He says he just vaguely remembers it now. So he doesn't have that emotional connection to it like we do, which is interesting. Um, and my daughter told of some of her abduction-like experiences, um, about mediumship and ghosts coming into the house, about how we finally learned to protect our house. We had enemies projecting demons and dark energies at us, which really did reap a lot of havoc in our lives until we learned how to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talk about that, and um, I don't know. They kind of asked you your perspective on what it was like to witness a lot of this stuff, while working with me.
Yeah. I've been through my own experiences on many levels, and uh but yeah, it was fun hearing, even just hanging out with you and your family. It's like there's always interesting discussions. And I've heard, even just a few years ago, I was hanging around at your house. We're shooting something at some point, and your son was telling stories of dreams he had been having, and it was just very extensive details, talking about Egypt, and it sounded like maybe Atlantis or something. That he was just going into so much that I think you had never heard. It sounded like you were surprised by everything he was sharing.
Yeah,
And it's like, man, I know it's much easier for children in earlier ages to process, to at least uh, have a unbiased or clean perception of some of these experiences. Um, but yeah, I can understand how it's harder to hold on to
yeah.
that.
I mean, orbs used to fly into the room with Connor when he was by himself, fly around, like sometimes red, sometimes green, different colored orbs, sometimes just white. And they would project symbols into his mind. He would just start seeing all these symbols. They put that in the documentary as well. We had so much ghost activity, poltergeist activity in our last house, especially. It was one of the reasons we moved. It was freaking haunted. But there was one time I was sitting across from Connor looking at him, and he was looking on his iPad, and I was looking at him trying to think of something clever to say to make him laugh. And a big old lock of his hair lifted up
Hmm.
and then dropped. And he went, the look on his face, he said, I think something touched my hair. And I said, Connor, I saw it. And we were just like, what? And we have, it's family that comes around now, and they'll come flicker lights, flip switches off and on, and do different things, smells and things. We know it's family. But that's pretty much all that we deal with now. But we had crazy demonic beings. We discuss it in the documentary.
And we actually do have one YouTube video where we suspect, uh, when you were being recorded on Zoom, there was a shadow figure behind you.
I wish we
I,
could find that.
I
Yeah.
could probably go find that. Yeah, maybe we can include that clip in the. I don't know if it's worth including. It's low resolution compared to what they're doing, but
Yeah, we
yeah,
can use it in something else though.
I could definitely tell that was a very different vibe in that house than your
Oh,
current house.
dude, that house was crazy. And like downstairs, I would be, downstairs in the basement where the whole business was. And I'd be working on the computer, and Connor's toys would be just freaking everywhere back then. And all of a sudden, his remote control car would go, would drive and stop. And I'd be like, okay, electromagnetic interference. Yeah, it could be anything. And then his big 4x4 truck
Hmm.
drives. And then other little toys like ding, 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 little toys that have to be wound up go off, when I'd be trying to work. And yeah, you would get that total feeling that you get with the presence and the chills and stuff. And walk around and start looking in the basement, and you would see a shadow head peek around from where our production studio was. You would see a head peek out at you and pop back in, and it would just send this fear rushing through your body, and you would have to, you know, the kids weren't very good at it. They would just take off up the stairs or whatever. But it was also the house where all of a sudden we heard Connor screaming, and he said that he was playing with his toys and he looked up and he was surrounded by shadow beings leaning over, looking at him. And after that experience, he would not sleep alone. Oh, it was horrible. Oh, until probably 2 years ago. And he turns 14 next week.
Hmm.
You know, he was that, because I mean, he had ghosts. He woke up one time with kind of a woman with shorter hair, wearing kind of a flowery blouse, a little overweight, standing with a real just kind of blank, but serious look on her face, standing over his bed when he woke up. He flipped out. That didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
So we really don't, we tell a fraction of the stories in this documentary. But my kids told a lot of stories that are on tape that didn't make it into the documentary that I would like to do something with.
Yeah, that's great to see it. And it's great that they're comfortable. They they're in an age now where they seem much more mature, much more comfortable to have conversations, and they're very good at conversations. I'm very happy to see their progress and integrating. And you're a very talkative family. It's great to see how well you're integrated as a unit and harmonious, I guess, in your affairs. So it's
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's what the production company kept saying. They're like, it really blows us away how close you and your family are. They said we don't really see that anywhere else. And I had to explain to them, we've been through cyber stalking. We had people in the community that had vendettas against us that targeted our marriage, just like with David Wilcock. But thankfully, unlike David Wilcock, he ended up getting a divorce because of all this. Thankfully, we were able to save our marriage and our family. But my children saw the results of the cyber stalking, people come into our house, weird shit. My kids were harassed a little bit. Just like David has been swatted by the police and IRS and all sorts of things. They reported us to all sorts of places, tried to have CPS take away our children. It's been crazy. And like I said, we touch on a lot of it in the documentary. But when we do Alien Mania, it's going to be a paranormal / reality TV / true crime series. And I know where all the bodies are buried from all the crazy people from this community. And I'm talking about a lot of public figures that are ripping people off, that you wouldn't believe. The first rule of the community is you don't talk about the community. I'm not really going to be talking about the community. I'm going to be talking about a lot of people who are big, well-known figures within the community that a lot of people look up to, who are doing some very questionable things. And we're going to talk about our whole experience of what we went through, lawsuits, in great detail, and death threats. We received a couple of death threats where someone said they were going to kill me, kill my wife, R-word my wife, murder my family, blow up my next event, kill David Wilcock and eat him. And we're just, it's crazy. We've gotten so many death threats. And, I think it'll be a good idea to bring in David Wilcock and a lot of the stuff he's gone through. So that's kind of, where we're at. I think we've pretty much discussed the projects, right?
That's a good teaser. That's a good preview for the upcoming documentary. Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
And we're going to have, um, when we get the financing locked in, which is going to be soon, and everything built out, ready to build out, we're going to have a lot more announcements and a lot more episodes of Cosmic Greenlight when it comes to working with. I'm going to interview the different producers from the production companies, um, the authors of the books that are going to be coming out. When we start hiring actors for the live action series, you know, I'm going to interview them and do behind the scenes footage, you know, while we're picking out actors and actresses. You know, one of the big things for me is picking out a really good actress for the Mrs. Hill to play Mrs. Hill. That's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to have all of this stuff. We're going to be covering it, and it's going to be exciting. It's already exciting. It's just we can't really talk much about it, although we just did talk a lot about it. But there's a part of it that we can't talk about, and we obviously can't talk about what streamers and networks and whatever that we're negotiating and working with either. Or I have to keep the gaming company quiet too right now.
Right.
Hopefully, I'll be able to announce the game development company and the really cool video game consultant who you've met.
Yep.
We'll introduce him. We're keeping him secret for now. He's a big hitter in the video game industry, and
Good
so
heart.
yeah, good heart. He's actually from the community. Um, when I first started talking about I would like to do video games, he contacted me and said, "Hey, man, I'm a big fan of Cosmic Disclosure." He's seen everything I've done and knows the IP very well, and he's going to help me write out the different levels of 20 and Back Soul Liberation. We're building it on top of another game that had been developed. We're just going to build it out under my IP now. So yeah, we're going to write all of that out together. And since he knows the IP, it's amazing. And the Disney guy is helping us with other projects. He knows the IP very well, and you know the IP. So we're really going to represent the 20 and Back IP and really find a way to bring some really consciousness expanding content to many, many people. In the video game industry, there's like 3 billion video game players. If we can get this type of mind expanding content in front of who knows how many people we can affect in a positive way. Same with the books. Some of the books will be kind of more of a horror kind of feel, but it's a way out. We will learn about these dark entities that we're dealing with, and it'll be delivered in kind of a scary kind of way, that it'll end in an empowering way about how to defeat these things. So I'm really excited. I mean, this is a lot of projects. I'm glad I have Mike. I've said this before. I wish I had at least 3 of him. If I had 3 of you, we would be really set. But it's here soon. We're going to have to hire some people from the professional world to help us get everything working and flowing in a very, very good way that will make sure we're able to deliver this content for the next 20 years.
All right. Thank you so much, Corey. It's been a great update.
All right. Well, stay tuned. The next Cosmic Greenlight will probably come out within the next couple of months. We will definitely do one when the documentary is released. And it'd be cool maybe to arrange watch parties and that sort of thing. And we'll also release how it's going to be published.
All right.
So stay tuned. Make sure you're signed up for email, our newsletter through email. That's where a lot of updates are being given right now. So, make sure that you, what's the best way for people to get on the mailing list?
Essentialworks.tv, right when you join, either you join the website as a user, or there'll be a form to fill out right on the homepage.
Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you on Ascension Works TV more in the future and in future episodes.